Hello and welcome. My name is Karina and I am new to YouTube. I have decided to come over here because I recently, well not recently, 2 years ago I started a book talk, and I did it because I wanted to read 10 books before turning 40. And I ended up reading 23 books that year, and it was amazing, and I forgot how much I missed it. And then I realized and learned that there was book talk, and I had no idea this little niche in social media existed. And I was so excited that I started posting my reviews, talking about books that I love, and making new friends. I have made a ton of friends through social media, and it has been an amazing journey. But today I want to talk about the books that I read in 2024. I read a total of 65 books, and some were audio, a lot of them were physical, and a couple of books on Kindle. This year, last year when I first started, I focused on Latino authors because I don't think they get enough representation as they should. Their books are amazing, so I wanted to highlight that and promote their books. And I wasn't getting paid, I just love to help people grow. So that was my focus last year. This year, I focused on romantasy and fantasy. I still read a lot of Latino authors because, again, I'm here to support. I also read a couple of Native authors, which I love those books. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and go through my books. I don't think I'm going to do any particular order, but I'm just going to go based on what I have here. I started off the year with Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing has a place in my heart that I don't know that I'll ever read about dragons the same. Like, this is my baby. I absolutely loved it. I know it had a lot of mixed reviews. Some people loved it, some people couldn't get through it. But I loved the world building. I loved the story it told. I am a big fan of Violet Sorrengail, and of course Zaddy is all of our boyfriends. So I read this first, and then of course I had to read Iron Flame afterwards. And when I tell you, when I finished this book and I realized that the next book wasn't going to come out until January, I was pissed. I was like, I could have waited until the end of the year to read this, but then I would have had FOMO, and we can't have FOMO. So I'm glad I read it when I did. Next, I read the Cruel Prince series. This is a YA, also fantasy. There's a lot of world building, a lot of politics in this series, not a lot of spice because obviously it's a YA. I enjoyed this book as well. Then I got to The Wicked King, then The Queen of Nothing. And I know there is other books that go with this series. I have not gotten to those just yet. I just bought The Prisoner's Throne, so I'll probably read that next year. And next, after I read these, I dived into the Sarah J. Maas world. I started with A Court of Thorn and Roses, and I am ashamed to admit that I was a Tamlin girl until I wasn't. Okay, now he's a tampon and we don't like him, and he can go to hell. So this series also has a special place in my heart. This world I always think about. I can always talk about it. Obviously by reading this one, I read A Court of Mist and Fury. A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight, and A Court of Silver Flames. My order of preference in these books was A Court of Wings and Ruin was my favorite. Then it was followed by A Court of Mist and Fury. Then it was followed by A Court of Silver Flames. Then it was followed by A Court of Frost and Starlight. And I know a lot of people didn't like this book. They thought it was too fluffy, didn't really tell anything, but I liked how it showed a different side of the characters and just how their found family like clicked together, and I enjoyed it. And then A Court of Thorn and Roses was my least favorite. So I couldn't stop there with the Sarah J. Maas world. I had to dive in further, and boy, oh boy, if you have not dived into the world and you're not familiar with these books, you're gonna be like, you read what? Yes, I did. I dived into Crescent City. These babies are thick. The first book, I read it so quick. I enjoyed it so much. I was so mad at her because how are you gonna kill everybody right away? Ma'am, you can't do that to us. And then, of course, House of Sky and Breath. This one was good. The beginning was a little slow. The middle was too slow. And then when worlds collide, or worlds meet from both series, I was like, oh my god, yes, yes. House of Flame and Shadow. Repetitive. Too long. She could have cut it off. Like, ma'am, there's no need for it to be this long. You could have ended it a long time ago. I still have about 200 pages left in this book because I just couldn't. I am gonna eventually finish it because I keep getting yelled at by my friend Brandy. So I'm gonna finish it. Next, I read Powerless and Powerful. And I did the tandem read on these. Tandem reading is when you read a couple chapters from each book at the same time. I think that's the best way to read this, because if you go and read this after this, you're going to be like, why am I reading the same thing over and over again? So, this was a fun read. I enjoyed it. I loved the friendship that formed in that world. And I'm not going into too much detail in the books because we'll be here all night. So, I still need to read Reckless. Next, I read Phantasma. And these are not in any particular order. I'm just telling you what I read. This book right here, I got it in my Book of the Month subscription. If you are not familiar with Book of the Month, it's a book subscription where you can sign up and you pay, I think, like $18 a month. And you get to pick a book. You get discounts on other books that they have. It's $5 to start. And I've enjoyed having it. If you are interested and want to get your first book for $5, there is a link in my link tree that you can go to, and it will guide you there. This book was goth. It's based in Louisiana. It was just beautiful. She has another book coming out that's not part of a series with this book, but it has characters from this book that are going to be in that book. Next, I read What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. This book was so good. It's like a historical fiction. It follows this young girl. She is Australian. She is Australian. No. Venezuelan? No. Argentinian. Brain fart! I'm sorry guys, I'm nervous. This is my first time here. Her parents go to Egypt because her uncle is an archaeologist, and they are discovering things, and one of the things is the lovely Cleopatra's tomb. There is a second book that just came out in this series, and it's called What the Library Knows, and I can't wait to dive into that. I have all my book reviews, all my book thoughts over on my TikTok account. If you are interested, the link is in my link tree if you want to go and check it out. Next, I read Sabrina and Karina. No, I did not read it because my name is Karina, maybe, but they spell it different in this book. Honestly, the cover is what sold me in this book. I read it on my Kindle, and then I had to get a trophy book, obviously. This is a bunch of short stories about Native women in Colorado and their relationships with their daughters. And it was just so heart-warming. I like this book as well. Chica Why Not is the next one. It is a self-help book. How to live with intention and manifest a life that loves you back. I have not finished it. And not because I didn't like it. I have not finished it because it requires you to sit down and really dig deep. And I was not ready to do that. So I have not finished it, but I will get to it. Next, I read The Cowboy Whisper by Miss Sabrina Soule. It's a cowboy romance. Super cute, Latina author. Again, my reviews are over on the Clock app if you are interested to see what they're about. Next, I read When We Were Widows by Miss Annette Chavez Macias, and that is the same author of this book. And she also wrote Big Chicas Don't Cry and Too Soon for Adios. She has become one of my favorite authors. She puts a book out, I'm buying it. So this one just came out this year, and I pre-ordered it. I read it on Kindle first because she put it out there, and then my pre-order came in. I cried with this book. It talks about grief and the understanding of how our parents are growing at the same time that we are, and we really don't know what they're going through, what they've been through. So it touched a lot of soft spots for me, especially because I lost my mom in 2018. So really good read if you want to cry. This one is Without a Choice by G.R. Luna, and she is one of my booksties. This is her debut novel, and it was good. It follows a girl that is undocumented, and she has DACA, and she commits a crime, and now she's being deported to a world that she is not familiar with people she's never met, and she's having to find herself while trying to navigate living in a new area. Pick it up. It was really good. Next, we have Seven Summers by Paige Toon. And this book, I read it in the summer. It was so cute. It's a romance. And it's based out in England. And it's like a little small town, beach town romance book. Enjoyed it. Then I got into some horror because I am a mood reader. You are not going to find me reading the same genre all year long because my brain can't do that. If I do, I'll go into a reading slump. So I read Playground by Erin Beauregards. This is a splatterpunk book, and it is not for everyone. If you love horror, gore, if you don't get grossed out easily, I would recommend it. I enjoyed it. So much so that I went and picked up another one of his books, and it's called The Slob, and this one's just a little tiny one. Also good. And again, pick those up if you like horror or splatterpunk or like to be grossed out. Yes, I'm weird like that. Next, I read La Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. And this one is also really good. Historical fiction. And it talks about leyendas mexicanas. And I buddy read this with some of my girlfriends. I also buddy read Seven Summers with one of my other friends and Phantasma with one of my other friends. Next, I read Monstrillo by Gerardo Samono Cordova. And this book was just bizarre, but it was good. The same thing with this book. These two books was like, WTF, what am I reading? What am I reading and why am I still reading it? But I finished them and enjoyed them, and I'm still like, what? In the topic of WTF, what am I reading? Tender is the Flesh. Dystopian. Cannibalism. This was my first WTF book. I was like, why am I enjoying this? What is wrong with me? Like, then you start analyzing your brain, like, why do you enjoy reading these type of things? But then you let it go because we're going to read what we want. Next, I read Loteria by Cynthia Pelayo. This book is every Loteria card is a different story, a leyenda. Perfect read for the Halloween, October seasons. Next, I read My Mate by Grace, and this one is a fantasy. It follows a pack of wolves that are human, and obviously they turn into wolves. It was cute. There's a second book out. I have it, just haven't read it, and she is an indie author. Next, I read Pen Pal, and this book took me for a spin. I'll wait forever if I have to. That's what the edge says. Paranormal, dark romance, a lot of smut, if you will. Now, this is considered also a dark romance. However, it is hilarious. Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark. I enjoyed these books so much. I was laughing, especially with this one. Of course, check your trigger warnings on all the last books that I just spoke about because there's a lot of triggers. This one and this one is about unalivers, and they fall in love, and you'll have to read it to know the rest. Next, I got this as an ARC, Catalina, and it's by Carla Cornejo Villavicencio. This was good. This is about a girl that is also undocumented, and she gets accepted into Harvard, and she's having to navigate that world as an undocumented student. So it was a good read. Next, I read Chicano Frankenstein by Daniel A. Olivas. This book is another take of your original Frankenstein movie. I'm gonna be honest, it was not my favorite. I think this was my least favorite read of the year. I expected more of it because the main character was a paralegal. I'm a paralegal, so I thought, you know, I don't know what I thought, but it didn't give. Next, I read Coyote Songs by Gabino Iglesias. Look at that cover. I love Gabino. I got to meet him at the Texas Book Festival, and he is so sweet. He definitely is the person that he is on social media. Like, there is no front there. He was so nice. He was funny. I love his books. All his books are very thriller, suspense, horror type of books. This one follows a bunch of short stories from the border and all the bad things that happened in the border. So if you haven't checked it out, you should. The next one was also Gabino Iglesias, House of Bone and Rain, and this follows a story after Maria hits the island in Puerto Rico, and these kids have to navigate through life after someone, one of their parents. So it was a good read. I still have some left in it because I started it when I was trying to ARC read, buddy read, and book club read. So things get lost, okay? Next, I read La Reina. This was also an ARC by J.D. Yanis. This book was a good one also, paranormal. It follows a main character that has to leave home because she's trying to get away from her trauma, and she has to come back because something tragic happened and her past starts to haunt her again. So I enjoyed it. Next, I read How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, of course, because why not? It's hyped. In my opinion, it was not super good, but it wasn't bad. It was a cute Christmas book. There's spice, so I don't suggest kids read it. I don't suggest kids read any of these books, actually. Maybe just The Cruel Prince. Well, no, there's others. Next, I read Blood Sisters by Vanessa Lilly. And this is a book about Native American sisters who have to go, I don't even know what to say. I'm so bad at this. I have all the reviews on my Clock app. I've just talked about them so much, and right now there's so many of them that I'm like, what was this about? But I read this with my book club and I did enjoy it, and you should check it out. Next, I read The Waves Take You Home, and this book was so stinking cute. I mean, the cover itself, it just reminds you of family, just being back home. I think she was from, I don't remember where she was from. Colombia? Yes. I want to say she was Colombian. Again, I'm sorry guys. Yes, Colombia. Fun read. Again, all reviews are on the Clock app. Next, I read Vampire Juice, and this is by an indie author. He is one of my friends on Book Talk, and this reads like, this is actually a teenage horror book. It reads like Tales from the Crypt, Goosebumps. Gave me those kind of vibes. I really liked it. It took me back to the 90s, which was super cool. Next, I read Next, I read Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro. And this follows the story of La Malinche. If you don't know who La Malinche is, she is a Native American woman that was sold to the Tampico, I believe, tribe. And then they sold her to Hernan Cortez. And this takes another, it's like a remake of that story. But she becomes a vampire and takes her life back. And lastly, on my physical books, I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. And this one also has a bunch of mixed reviews. I liked it. I liked how it didn't portray vampires the way most books do. It was like a different take. So I enjoyed it. Those are all my physical books. I have a bunch that I read on Kindle and audiobooks. So in January, a book that I read that is not, and I don't think you're going to be able to see it. It's not on here. It's the Twisted Love series. I read Twisted Love, Twisted Games, and Twisted Hate. And my favorite is Twisted Games by Anna Hong. And Alex, too possessive for me. Rice was perfection. Josh was annoying, like too cocky, get away from me. Next one that I read that's not on here was... Oh, I have Jawbone. I haven't finished it. That's probably why I didn't put it up here. Jawbone was a psychological thriller. The literature in that book is phenomenal. But after reading like fantasy and like... I just was not in the mood. So I haven't finished it. What else? I read My December Darling by Lauren Asher, and I read it for December, and that was a cute book. The dedicated it to all the girlies that love Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, that is very bold. This better be good, because if not, we're gonna have problems. Just kidding. Then I read Santa's Hidden Desires. This is by another indie author who is a friend. And this one, if you like smut and just smut, I would suggest you go read it. It's on KU. By him, I also read Jewel Light Reaper. And that one was a different take of Santa Claus going for all the bad people. He decided to give gifts to the good. This year, I'm going to go pay a visit to all the bad people. So that was a cool take. I also read One Day in December by Josie Silver. And that one gave me Bridget Jones' Diaries, Emily Blunt, and The Devil Wears Prada vibes. Then I read The Cowboy Christmas Glow Up. That one is also, these are on KU. Super cute. It was a cowboy Christmas romance, and it was fluffy and just perfect. I loved it. Great way to end the year with that book. And then I made the decision that I should have waited to do next year, but here I am. I started Zodiac Academy this month, and I am currently on book 2. And I thought there was only 7 books in the series, but there is The Ruthless Boys, which has 3 books, or 5 books, I think. And then you have another spin-off. So, wish me luck. If you've read them, let me know what order you read them in, because I heard there's different ways to read them. But again, Hello again. I did not know. This is how you know I'm new. I did not know there was a limit of how long you can record on your Canon. So I'm back. Before I was rudely interrupted, I was talking about Zodiac Academy. I'm on book 2, and I can't wait to get more into that series because I love it. I also started 2 Weeks in Tahoe. It's also on KU by Erica Everett. She's also a Booksy. It's her debut novel. So far, so good. I also am waiting. We started the Sisterhood of the Traveling Book, and I have 2 groups of friends that I'm doing this with. The first one, we're reading a dark romance book, and my turn is coming up, so I'm excited. And then I started one with my Bookish Latina squad, and here it is. We are a group of Latinas that love to read, and my friend Jen started the book club called La Bookish Latina Squad, and we all meet on Facebook. If you are interested, I'm going to put the link in my link tree, and you can go and join us if you are interested in joining the Bookish Latina Club. And then with that club, there's 4 of us that are the mods and 5 of us. And we are going to read Truly, Madly, Deeply to start for the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pens. Sisterhood of the Traveling Book. I'm enjoying it so far. So basically the way that works is the first person picks a book that they want to read, and you send it off. You read it, you tab it, you write in it, you highlight it, you do whatever you want. And then you send it to the next girl. And then she reads it, tabs it, sends it off to the next girl, and so on and so forth. When it gets to the last girl, she'll send it back to the first person, and you get to keep that as a trophy in memory. And you get to see everything that your friends highlighted and tabbed and wrote. So that's going to be fun. I love that idea. And then the next person gets to pick a book for us to read. So it goes down the line until the last person does it. So I'm doing that with 2 different groups, and I love it. Lastly, I did just become a Kindle girly. I did not own a Kindle before. I always read off of my iPad, and everyone kept yelling at me that I was going to hurt my eyes. And I already wear glasses. How much more can I hurt them? But for Christmas, I got a Kindle, so I am excited. I also started a book club, and it's called Dark Romance, Beginners for Dark Romance, Dark Romance for Beginners. It's on Fable, and it's also in my link tree if you want to go check it out. If you are scared, intimidated, don't know where to start with dark romance, just like me, come on and join us. It's going to be fun. The first book that we're reading in January, because that's when we're starting, it's not necessarily a dark romance. It's called Bull Moon Rising, and this cover is just so beautiful. But it introduces you to the world of possessiveness and creatures and things like that. So I think it would be a good way to start off the book club. And then every month everybody gets to pick a book that they want to read. We put it in a drawing, and then we draw and read that book. And I think that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed my video. I will be doing weekly videos or maybe monthly videos. Haven't quite decided yet. To give an update on all the books that I read for the month or for the week, or give y'all bookish updates. I will go more in depth into the books I'm reading in my following videos. In this one, I didn't want to do that because we would be here literally all night because it's a ton of books. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed it again, and we'll talk soon. Bye.